The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Cosplay Alliance, our partners and affiliates. This episode of the Cosplay Alliance podcast may contain coarse language or sensitive subject matters. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
It's showtime! I've been waiting to say that all day. Welcome to the Beetlejuice Beetlejuice review. We are going to be talking some spoilers, but the good thing is we have waited a couple weeks since we all got to go see the advanced screening in Toronto for Beetlejuice. First up, I want to say thank you to Warner Brothers Canada for inviting all of us to see the movie. Let's go around the circle here for introductions. So to my right on the screen I'm looking at, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm Raya Koss on Instagram and pretty much everywhere else. Happy member of the Cosplay Alliance family for a little under a year now. So yeah, no, happy to be here. Very first podcast. I'm excited.
This is a first one for you?
Yay!
Yeah,
Oh.
taking on.
Oh, well, congratulations for being your first Cosplay Alliance pod, and you shall be on here a lot more now. We can fix that. All right, to the screen I'm looking at, to Rachel's right is Allie. Allie
Hey.
Cosplay.
I'm Allie. Like I said, Allie Cosplay on Instagram. I don't even remember when I joined Cosplay Alliance, but it hasn't been that long. But yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
Yay. Okay, underneath Allie is Allie with one L.
Hey everyone, this is Ali at the alleyway, also everywhere, and I don't even know when I started attending anything with Cosplay Alliance, but I've always enjoyed them. And this is my second time at the podcast, so I'm excited.
Well, glad to have you, Ali. To your left, we got Elizabeth.
Hi there, I'm Elizabeth, more known as Matsuri-chan, I guess, everywhere, all the streaming platforms, all the social media, I'm Matsuri there. Very happy to be here. This is my first podcast too.
Yay!
Yay! Another first timer.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. And last but definitely not least, we have Sheba.
Hello, hi, I'm Sheba, hashtag perpetually nerdy on Instagram. This is my second time on this podcast, and I've done a few things with Cosplay Alliance, and just been cosplaying for a while, so excited to be here.
Well, so thank you very much, Sheba. Now let's go into our initial thoughts. We saw the movie 2 weeks ago at the advanced screening. What's everyone's thoughts on Beetlejuice Beetlejuice?
I loved it. I saw it twice. I saw it the next day with other friends, and I really enjoyed it. I had a blast. It had that Tim Burton feel. It really felt like we were going back into the world of Beetlejuice without it being just fan service and feeling just like it was a cash grab, at least for me. And so I really appreciated that and enjoyed that about the movie, among other things. And I still love Catherine O'Hara as much as I did in the first one. And Bob is my favorite character ever, and I love him very much.
Sorry.
No, go.
Okay, I go. So my thoughts on Beetlejuice, I loved it. I really want to rewatch it. I would definitely rewatch it on my first language because I think I'm missing some of the jokes. But the first part of the movie was really questionable for me. When I was watching it, I didn't get the atmosphere. I think it was pretty boring, and it was looking like just introduction of the characters, and it was really, really slow. So, but the second part of the movie was amazing. I was very excited. I got so much emotions. It was very unpredictable. So yes, definitely will call it one of the good movies, and I would definitely rewatch it maybe a couple more times later on.
Okay, how about you, Rachel?
I had a blast. I enjoyed it. I always love having something new I can add to my spooky season rotation because that stuff goes on a loop. And I love Tim Burton. For me, it kind of felt like a really good bridge between like I don't want to call it like the old generation of Tim Burton actors, but like the first generation of Tim Burton actors into what I think he's curating a newer generation in cast. Because we all know how much he loves to use and reuse the actors. I just feel like this is a really good bridge into some of the new actors that we're going to start to see in more movies, and it makes me very fingers crossed hopeful to get more spooky Burton-y stuff.
How about you, Ali?
Which one?
Ali with one L.
Honestly, I enjoyed it so much. It was so fun, and just like Shiva said, it was full of cameos and Easter eggs without it being too kind of preachy or too like fan servicey. The only thing that kind of felt like was missed opportunity was the we can't talk spoilers, right?
Oh yeah, no, this is full spoilers.
Full spoilers. Okay, so the part where the wife became more of a plot device, where she had potential to have a whole storyline. Like I feel like if they made a Beetlejuice 3 that had her story instead of just kind of giving her that grand entrance and then just not having anything much to do with her, would have been perfect. Or if they focused on her, also would have been perfect. Either or, but I think that was very much a wasted opportunity for something that was so exciting. Other than that, I think I was fully into that movie. I was so emotional being there, like a child, just on the edge of my chair, giddy and excited. I think I'm greedy and I want more now. That's it.
Okay. How about Ali with two L's?
No, I loved it. I really enjoyed that they kind of like stuck to using like the practical props and not so much CGI. Because that's one of the things that I love about the first one. But if I had like one complaint, I just remember vividly like thinking about this watching the movie, was the character Astrid. They just at the beginning they portrayed her as this like strong, like I don't need anybody, I'm angry at the world, like just kind of like shuts everybody out. And then she just kind of like stumbled upon this boy and was like, oh yeah, let's go into the tree together, and like fell in love. And I was like, how did we switch so fast from like that to okay, whatever, like I'll roll with it. And then it turns out that the boy was dead and a ghost anyway, so I was like, oh, plot twist. But yeah, that was the only thing that made me kind of go, interesting. But otherwise, I absolutely loved it.
Well, as first for myself, a few of you touched on it. Like some of the pacing was a little bit slow, but now Sheba, when you saw it a second time, how was the pacing then?
It didn't bother me. Like I thought it would have. I might have seen it with like a second time watching it. I thought maybe, okay, I'm not going to enjoy it as much. But I was also watching with friends where I was just waiting for their reactions. So a lot of times I was just sitting there going, oh, this is a part, and I would just look at them and like kind of wait to see what their reactions were. So I think that kind of made it another layer, like it was just added another layer of excitement for me. So I didn't notice the pacing as much as I probably might have had I just been watching it again just like that.
Also, with Ali, what you said about Dolores, how she could have been a great character in a third movie, I completely agree with that. Like that would have been spectacular to kind of build on her story, and then she shows up in the third movie, and then you find out more about her in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice.
It made me really sad that it was such a wasted opportunity, because as a character, she looks so compelling, and she has a compelling backstory, and she's got these cool, unique facets about her that make her different and stand out from the other characters. But then they really didn't capitalize on what they could have done with her, almost to the extent that had they introduced her and she got zapped by the lightning at the end of the movie, it would have had more of an effect and almost like lead into a third movie. Whereas her being in this movie, she could have not been in it at all. And I don't think it would have
Right.
felt like any different of a movie.
Yeah.
And that's
Plus,
just unfortunate.
it's Monica Bellucci, so or Monica, yeah, it's like she's fantastic, and you know
I have
they
a question
didn't
about her
utilize.
character.
Allie?
Oh, also somebody asked about Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. No, they are not in it. Just
Oh,
I noticed that in the chat, so I just wanted to point that out.
yeah. No, they to Anthony real quick. No, the Maitlands aren't in it. They found a way to go to the other side. So, sorry, Allie, you want to talk about Dolores?
No, I just had a question because I heard it in a podcast. Guy or somebody was interviewing the cast, and he was like, I remember in the first one where he's like marrying, oh my gosh,
Lydia.
thank you, Lord, marrying Lydia, and he pulls out the ring and he goes,
Yeah,
like, she
off
meant
the
nothing to me,
finger.
baby. And he was like, and then we noticed like there was a clip where she didn't have the finger, but then she put she put a finger back on. So like, was that finger from the first Beetlejuice hers, or was it
I think somebody was saying that it might have been, and that was at least it answered the question about him being, because he said he was part of the plague, and so I think it answered part of that question. And I assume, because I rewatched the first Beetlejuice yesterday or the day before, and I noticed that too. And I was like, oh, I guess it probably is that finger, because she did have the finger missing. She finds one, and the finger doesn't match the rest of her skin tone. So I don't know if, that's, she has just grabbed another random finger and put it on, or if that's still her finger. And so I don't know, because the finger he took out did match the color of her skin, but then the one she had was a darker color.
They could have just had a box of random body parts.
Well, I don't know if it was just that. And she was like, well, I don't have my finger. Here you go. So, yeah.
It's also weird, too, that they do have 3 bad guys in the movie.
Right, yeah. And, I was just going to say that it's cool that they had, I think that's where the pacing thing, or the not utilizing some of the characters comes in, because they did try to connect or add more things in there, but then they weren't able to put into, like, write more of a story for some of the characters that they had already set up.
Yeah, and
Well,
sorry.
no, go ahead, Elizabeth.
The bad characters in Tim Burton's movies, what I noticed, they are not typical bad guys. They are kind of biased. And the same is this movie. Even husband of Lydia, like, he's not a bad guy, but we understand his motivation, and we don't realize that he's a bad guy till pretty much the
very end.
Yeah.
So, which is interesting, I find.
Yeah, Tanith here says she loved Dolores, but I felt that if you removed her, it wouldn't make a difference in the movie. Again,
Yeah, exactly.
leave her to the end for Beetlejuice. But, okay, other spoiler, she gets eaten by a sandworm. So did Beetlejuice in the first movie, and he's back. So there's no reason she can't come back.
Right, yeah.
To wreak havoc in the future.
Do you think it's gonna be the third movie? I feel like there is gonna be another movie with Beetlejuice.
I thought I read somewhere where Michael Keaton was saying the reason why they wouldn't be a third movie, but I didn't read it because I hadn't watched the movie yet, and then it got lost in the interweb somewhere. But I just seen the title, and I'm like, what? But I'm like, I don't want to read it in case I ruin the movie, and I was gonna go watch it anyways. And then I forgot to go back and check it later. So.
There's a quote by Tim Burton said, when asked about a potential third movie, let's do the math. It took 35 years to do this, so it'll be over 100. But I guess
maybe
it's
he'll
possible.
Pass it down. Yeah, he'll pass it down to someone. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too. They could turn it into a franchise. Somebody
well,
else.
Yeah.
Actually.
I mean, they did that with like Star Wars movies and things that other people are creating it. So, who's to say that they can't do that with other franchises?
Or possibility of a show, even something like a series of Beetlejuice world working, because the universe of Beetlejuice is actually very interesting. All the characters are super complicated, and they are they are very different from anything else we know.
Yeah.
Burton's universe, the design of it, the concept what he based on is absolutely out of this world. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
maybe something.
I would love to see a TV show out of it. And in my brain, that goes like one of two ways, either like a handbook to the dead or a handbook for the dead kind of spin-off series where they go through the handbook, or even like a Goosebumps-esque style individual stories, short stories in the Beetlejuice world, like Elizabeth said, that kind of captures some of those characters that we see in the background in the waiting room. Are we back?
Wow, is it internet connection issue?
Maybe, yeah.
I was like, what happened? I was like, was that me?
Oh,
Or
there we go.
Yeah. All
Kind
of
of
Okay.
that's
crashed out there
good.
for a second. All right, before we have technical difficulties there, actually, question from Anthony: is Beetlejuice considered a Halloween movie since it came out in March?
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it normally would have. It is.
What
I think
is
it's
what?
the vibes. It's all about the vibes. Anything
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
a Halloween movie if you
criteria
want it to be.
of a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Is it the time? Is it the time it was released, or is it just how it was culturally adopted? Because if it was culturally adopted, then yes, by
Yeah.
cultural adoption. But
Yeah.
if it's by time of release, then there's so many movies that wouldn't be Halloween.
Right. And like Nightmare Before Christmas can be both. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Wait,
I
did
was
you
I think
just
when
gonna say.
yeah.
Okay,
Die
so
Hard's a Christmas movie. Like, you know.
I've got
September?
I've got a question for the panel here. I'm the oldest person sitting in this virtual room.
Are you? Or am I about the same?
I'm 49.
I'm 41, so.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
Now-
You are.
I didn't see this movie in theater. I saw it for the first time on beta.
Mhm.
Now, all of you would have seen it at, some sort of version of home video viewing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
is it more of a Christmas or a Halloween movie to you guys because you would have seen it around the spooky season?
I think so.
Yeah. I think the first time I saw it was during like one of those Halloween marathons on cable TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. With
Yeah,
the,
I don't
with
remember
the,
when I saw
all
it.
the ads in between.
Yeah, I don't remember when I saw it, but I think it was at home. It definitely wasn't in theaters. It was definitely at home.
First
The
time.
first movie, you mean, right? The Experience's first movie?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I also
Yeah.
cannot remember when did I see it, but it definitely was on TV, and
Mhm.
it was at nighttime for sure. This is all the
Yeah.
memories I have about it, but I don't remember season.
Mhm.
Hard to tell.
For me, I have this weird, very reverse fandom experience when it comes to Tim Burton's movies. I studied character design in university, and I'm obsessed with a lot of these black and white stripes. Curtain here, if you can't tell. So I tend to like the characters, fall in love with them, study them, and from a design perspective, if I know nothing about them, just because how interesting and intriguing they look, and then I was like, after some time, like maybe I should consider watching the movie, because I was obsessed with Jack Skellington since childhood, but I only watched the movie at like somewhere in the late 2000s, which is much later. Beetlejuice, I've only watched it like for the first time 4 or 5 years ago, even though I was like in these black and white stripes, Beetlejuice aesthetic stuff, and I was obsessed with it since childhood. So it's, even though I know things existed, I kind of just somehow started with the character design studies and somehow find my way into the movie a lot of the times. So I've only watched it through streaming services.
Yeah.
Much later.
And then there was the cartoon too. I don't remember. Ali, we talked about that, but we watched the cartoon. I did remember watching the cartoon when it came out. So I was watching it. I don't think I was watching it regularly, but I did remember watching it whenever it came out on TV.
Well, speaking about the cartoon, I watched that one when it came out, and I felt that there was a lot of elements of the animated series, just the interactions between Lydia and Beetlejuice. It felt like the cartoon. What are you guys' favorite parts or favorite part of Beetlejuice? Let's start with Now we're over on the far left. I'm like Allie with 2 L's.
My favorite part in Beetlejuice.
Yes.
This is probably like the dancing and the singing part. I was really hoping that they were going to do something like that in this movie. And I know it was like a long sequence, but it was well done. It's well done. I loved it.
I figured they would have lost a lot of people by playing MacArthur Park. It's not a very popular song. It's very cool. How about you, Elizabeth? What was your favorite part?
I would also want to say the ending of it when they were singing and dancing. It was amazing. It's such a Tim Burton thing. Like, it's a dark movie, but at the same time, it's so bright and cheerful. Like, it's giving so much emotions. But I also really like the moment. It just stuck in my head for some reason. It's just very funny to me how Lydia's mother died when she got bitten by 2 snakes. I find it hilarious. It's just so dumb and funny. I do like this moment. Like, I know it's not very bright, but it's funny to me. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I would say.
How about you, Sheba? What's your favorite part?
I really liked all the parts. Well, all the parts with Catherine O'Hara in it were just some of my favorite because, I mean, I feel like in this movie, she kind of was Delia, but also there was a little bit of Moira Rose in there that kind of like snuck in. And I think I loved her in Schitt's Creek so much. And I loved her as Delia. It really solidified her character for me. And I just love the little jab she made it at Lydia. Anytime Astrid would say something, she's like, well, you treated me badly. So, it's just kind of revenge. And she just kept kind of egging it on a little bit, but also being like, well, you did that to me. So it's only fair that you deal with this. And I really enjoyed that kind of thing. And it also just reminded me, I just thought of my mom. And I'm like, I wonder if my mom thinks the same thing whenever I'm complaining about something about school kids. And she's like, well, you did that to me. So this is only fair. I'm like, well, so it kind of, that kind of made me laugh a little bit.
When you're saying about Catherine O'Hara, I've seen a lot of stuff online where people are today years old when they realize that Catherine O'Hara was the voice of Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know that either. And I thought it was like, that was one thing that I didn't realize. I knew Catherine O'Hara was in a lot of other movies, and I was surprised about that one. I'm like, wait, what? Although I shouldn't be surprised if Tim Burton likes an actor, they're in all the things. So you shouldn't be that surprised. But yeah, I was 2 years.
I'm of the generation where I grew up watching SCTV, where Catherine O'Hara was a star on there with Eugene Levy and John Candy. So
my dad used to watch that.
Yeah, so for me, I've followed her career for a very long time, and it just surprised me when people were like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's Catherine O'Hara." So even there, go rediscover Nightmare Before Christmas and realize that enjoy that.
Yeah, I remember we're having that moment with Home Alone. They were like, "That's the mom that's Catherine O'Hara." And they're like, "Oh, it's Catherine O'Hara." Yep.
Rachel, what was your favorite part?
So for me, there's kind of 2 parts that really stick out, and they were development portions for Dolores when she's first introduced and she's reassembling herself, and then the scene in the dry cleaners are just 2 big ones for her, where you get this big, tall, looming, domineering, spooky baddie, and that's an energy that I absolutely love in villains across genres and video games, movies, TV. That is just something that is always very captivating for me. So those are kind of moments for me that really like tickle my fancy. They make me really happy. I love seeing a like tall, strong, domineering, bad woman who's like unapologetically not a good guy.
That's actually a good one.
Before I go to Allie, I just I had one thing to think of when you're saying about Dolores being domineering and like big and massive. Did anyone else pop when Danny DeVito was there and
I did.
I did. Up and sucked life force sucked out of him?
Yeah. That was. I mean, I giggled first because then I was like, "You look like a human, like a squishy pillow." That just and then that part made me laugh. But even when he just shows up, I got really excited. And then I remember the second time, that was the one where I looked at my friends and just kind of waited I mean, I tried not to do it before he showed up, but when he turned around and they realized it was Danny DeVito, I looked at them and I was like, Danny DeVito! I like Danny DeVito. I don't know. Soft spot for that man.
No, I agree with you completely because it's one of those things where he turns around and you're like, is
You're
that
like,
Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
like,
Oh my
go
God,
Danny
that's Danny
DeVito.
DeVito.
I leaned over to Allie and I whispered to her, I said, I don't think anybody in this movie theater realizes that Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
It was
I
such
think-
a surprise.
Yeah, I
only
think
realized
that-
at the credits time when I read his name in the credit. I'm like, oh my god, that was him.
Oh, I heard his voice and I was like, wait, I know this voice. And then he turned around. I was like, Danny DeVito. and then I was half waiting for him to bite somebody's nose off, but that was just, just penguin vibes coming out.
Actually, Rachel recognized him right away. Like I had no clue, and we were sitting beside each other, and she said like, "Oh, it's Danny DeVito," and I'm like, "No." It was incredible. You died.
I'm reading Tana's comment. I turned to my kid and said, "Oh my God, Danny DeVito, I love your work." AKA Mean Girls. I say that to my nephew. We'll run after my nephew. Like, oh my God, it's Danny DeVito. Love your work. That comment made me laugh. Just wanted to point that out.
All right. So, Allie, 1L. What was your favorite part?
Honestly, I love the environment, like the world exploration. Like we got to see more in-depth look at the Beetlejuice universe. That was so intriguing because it wasn't just like in the same premises. Like we got to see more. The thing that was intriguing for me, and before we watched the movie, I've done some research and I interviewed a few people to ask them whether, because there was this discussion in the past whether Beetlejuice is a villain or not, or like there was this opinion on the internet that Beetlejuice is not the villain. In fact, people approached him, why poke the bear if you can't handle it? But then I feel like in the second movie it was, and I got varied opinions when I interviewed people, but when we got to the second movie, I feel like he was more of a villain, like more of a selfish, like not just playful, mischievous. The other part I really liked, which, for I don't know what reasons, but probably I need therapy for liking that part, but his mischievous energy. It's like part of me is like, I want to have that level of mischief in me where I can just be playing with people, pranking people, and just like, but without harming them. But but like, I love that so much, and I think partially I strive to have that level of quick wit and stuff, and it spoke to me so much. That's something that's always intriguing for me. And lastly, Dolores, God, I'm so upset that she was a wasted opportunity. She was like chef's kiss, just that happened behind the scenes. Like, what about the soul suckers? What do we know about them? What can we know about them? I'm wondering if even maybe not a third Beetlejuice movie, but like just a spin-off about Dolores even. That would be really cool. And I like how she's like a mashup of characters and references from old movies, like whether it's Sally with the staples on her, or from the Addams Family, the mother. I don't know. I can remember that.
Morticia.
Yeah.
Adams, like, and Port's Bride, and it was like a reference and a tribute to all these characters that we loved. So she was more than just a character in a movie. She was like a gift to the audience in so many ways, and I can't emphasize how much I would love to see more of her.
It's like Tim Burton's ideal woman.
Mm-hmm.
All the best of everything put into one. You touched on about Beetlejuice being a bad guy or misunderstood. That was going to be one of my questions later on here, so I might as well dig into it. Everyone's thoughts. Is he bad guy, mischievous, just a scumbag?
In the first movie or the second movie?
As a character, take the first movie, second movie, mash up how he has evolved and changed over it. What are your thoughts, Elizabeth?
I think he's a bad guy, clearly, and I can explain why. So, my reason to think so. Remember, he was always wanted to marry Lydia, and the reason for doing that, it's I don't remember the details, but it's some kind of the contract. If he make a marriage with the person who is alive, so in the opposite side of the world, he can make a chaos around this world. So he doesn't have to stay like in the opposite side of the world. He can come to human world and actually be crazy right there. And this is kind of his goal, I guess. So, but it's also maybe questionable because maybe he's not initially a bad guy, but he just want to have fun, and this is the way he is making fun, having fun.
Chaos and mischief is entertaining, like a bad kid in the back of the class. Allison, what do you think? Beetlejuice, good guy, bad guy?
No, I don't think he's a bad guy. Kind of like what Ali said, like you're poking the bear. Like they called him. Like he didn't call himself. Like somebody's got to say his name 3 times. Like he's just kind of like, well, like you called me. This is what I do. You knew what I did. You signed the contract. What do you want me to do? Like
That's his play. He's like a very intense sailor. He's like, look, there is my papers. Just call me. Just ask for me. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna do anything. He's like convincing so hard people to call his name 3 times so he can appear in the world. He needs it. Like he wants you to do that. He's very convincing.
Well, and even like the first movie where Lydia comes and he's just sitting in the model and he's like, you know what you got to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it for you. You gotta bring me out.
Like a necessary evil.
Yeah. Rachel. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I definitely don't think he's a good guy, but and this is how I feel, is that I think he's bad at being a bad guy. His intentions aren't good. His underlying reasonings for wanting to do things are all like selfish, self-serving, and he doesn't actually want good for other people. It's all selfish. He's just really bad at what he does. His execution is not there. He's signing all these contracts, to trick other people, but is somehow on the wrong end of the deal, even though he wrote the contract. And he's not a good guy, but he's really bad at being a bad guy. And I think that's what makes him endearing, because, his intentions aren't good. And yeah, he's mischievous and he's chaotic, but the mischief and the chaos is fun. And at the end of the day, no one really got hurt? Question mark? Depending
Except
on
the
who you ask.
except
I don't know.
the influencers. What happened to the influencers?
His ex-wife,
Well, I don't know. If you look at the first movie and he goes and hits the hammers down and Robert Goulet goes through the ceiling, that's not good.
I mean, did they get hurt though?
But did
Well,
you
We don't know.
Why?
We don't know if they died. They just maybe he put nice mats outside for them to fall on.
We know
That's right.
that they actually alive because in the second movie, they mentioned their names
Yep.
during their funerals.
Yeah. Isn't that Maxie Dean?
Whoops.
One question I have that remains is, we didn't see the influencers ever come back.
That's what I'm.
True.
That's what I'm saying. What happened to the influencers? Where did they go?
They got uploaded to the cloud.
Yeah, they're above in the cloud.
Mhm.
They're in the cloud somewhere above them.
Like,
Okay.
can you be the commentary on addiction that they entered the world and never came out of it? Just
Mhm.
as influencers without eyes on the phone. Once we open it, it's
Yeah.
not out.
I thought it was just a plot hole. We're finding
That's
deeper meaning.
Okay, Sheba, how about you? What do you think? He's
I-
good guy, bad guy?
I think I do agree with Rachel as well that he's good at being bad, or he's a bad guy, but he's not good at being a bad guy. But I also wonder is that done on purpose? Like, is he purposely trying to be bad? That he has a reputation to uphold, and the reputation is that, hey, I'm a bad guy, I do bad things, but I'm not that bad. But he doesn't want anybody to kind of realize that he's not that bad. So maybe he finds, because he did make his own contract and kind of screwed up his own contract. So was he like, oops, I messed it up? Or was he like, darn, you found that loophole that conveniently was there and easy to find, and I kind of did it on purpose. So I always thought he was just a kind of scumbaggy kind of guy, but he could also be a scumbaggy guy with a heart of not gold, but there's a small, there's a heart there somewhere. Maybe.
But Beetle.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know.
The other question I have, now this one might be a tough one. So Jeffrey Jones, who plays the dad, Charles, obviously is an actor, sort of persona non grata in Hollywood for many, many years now. They kill off his character, but he's still featured fairly prominently in the movie, even though he doesn't have a head. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I'd love to know
About
how
him.
he talks and communicates with no voice box, but 'cause they show
Right.
they show heads.
They just have
talking.
they just have this part, and it it's mumbled, and you're like, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious, but then I also tried to envision his head, like the proportions seemed off for me, and so I just imagined like his head was just kind of like sticking out like this, and it looked like a potato head to me when I imagined him with his head back on, and so I couldn't stop imagining that as he walked around talking, and I was just like, Mr. Potato Head is what my brain thought of when I envisioned the rest of his body put back together.
Like I thought at first when they killed off the character, I thought, okay, good way to just write him off and get rid of him. And then when you see like the character in the movie, like essentially through the whole movie, I was like, wow, I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah. No, I wasn't thinking he was going to be in it either. I thought he was going to be like dead, and they were like, there you go, we've answered it. But I did like that they kind of still had him in there a little bit. And I like that they got away with it by not showing his face, and they used someone else to imitate his voice or say his voice. And because he didn't have the rest of his voice box-ish, you could get away with it being all muffled and weird, like not sounding like himself, and you can get away with that part. So I like that they had the homage to the character without allowing the actor to be there.
My thought behind it was the afterlife has different rules, and that's why if his anatomy was messed up, it doesn't matter because the afterlife kind of has its own rules. That's why I was able to talk.
We got one here saying, it's amazing to see Winona Ryder back as Lydia. It feels like it's been years. At least she had an appearance in Stranger Things. I hope she appears for more future films. She deserves her flowers. What do you think is a more iconic character for Winona Ryder, Joyce or Lydia?
I think it depends on the genre you come from.
Yeah.
Because I
was
older ones might remember her as Lydia, and the younger ones will definitely go Joyce right away.
Well, I go to the complete opposite and think of Little Women as Jo. That's my Winona Ryder.
Also, well, speaking about multiple characters, how about gapped. Jenna Ortega, playing in Beetlejuice and as Wednesday Addams, and also Scream if you want to go that route too. She's got goth, horror, and slasher.
I would have loved to see just a little bit extra differentiation between the characters, and as her as Wednesday and then her in Beetlejuice, because I think when you're first introduced to her in that academic setting with the private school uniform, it's almost too reminiscent of Wednesday being in the academic setting. So I would have loved if they had given us a bit of an intro to her, maybe with her dad and her mom, and then stuck her in the academic setting, because seeing the same face in what felt like a very similar setting made it harder for me, at least, to mentally separate the two characters. I get it by the end of the movie, but
I literally thought that they were gonna, because Lydia was such a little they showed her as a little goth kind of character. I thought that her daughter was gonna go the complete opposite direction and be like, look at me, I'm completely different, just almost out of spite, being like, you were goth and that kind of. I'm just gonna go the complete opposite direction. Is what I thought was gonna happen with her character.
Sorry about this. I don't know
Right.
what happened. Technical issues again. All right, we're all back in the feed. All right. Well, speaking about technical issues or technical process, how about the direction, the feel of the movie, the music, special effects? Was it like tugging at heartstrings, made it feel old, made it feel new? What's everyone's thoughts?
I can talk for visual effects part.
Yep.
So I'm actually visual effects artist. That's my profession. This is what I do like full time beside the cosplay. So I do know process behind, and I'm really surprised that they use so less CG as like, because now all the other movies using mostly only 3D CG, green screen, AR screens, like anything, not real props. And here we see actual props, which is amazing. But not just props, we do see some of the CG. Like, I believe those called snakes that we see in the desert. Desert is a green screen, obviously. Like, you can tell, anybody can tell.
Yeah.
But no, those snakes, the way they film that, they render those snakes, and they make them a little like flickle to make them look like it's puppet animation, like they did in the first movie. It was really, really amazing moment. Like, I got a nostalgic feeling out of it, and that was the best. And I don't really see a lot of CG, so in the one that I see, it's pretty well done. And the studio, I believe, studio who done it, they were something boys, Lost Boys visual effects. Yeah, they do a pretty good job. They also work on Wednesday TV show, as I remember.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I echo you on the nostalgia factor.
Mhm.
It felt fresh and also nostalgic at the same time. Like, I think one of the things that like really hit home for me was that first scene where you see the French graffiti artist walking through just
Mhm.
the afterlife for the first time, and you can see that the floors is all tilted, and it made me feel like a little kid in one of those like carnival fun houses,
Yeah.
right? With all the different pattern floors, and you're wobbly and you're
Yeah.
shaky. The floors are purposefully uneven and the walls are all wacky. And so it really made me feel like a little kid almost. And it felt new, but it had that very familiar feeling and all the different lights and stuff. I loved that.
Yeah. And I love CGI things, but I do also appreciate more of a practical effects, because I feel like you have to put a little bit more thought into it as well, because you need to be able to make sure that you can see what's going on in the movie and you can get that effect show up on screen. So I really appreciated that they took that time and effort to kind of go back to that and give homage to that, like they did in the first movie. And I wasn't watching it going, oh, I feel like it doesn't feel like a Tim Burton movie, or it doesn't feel like they're doing justice to the original movie. It didn't take me out of it, and I really appreciated that. So I really liked the effects that they had in here and that they used, and it really did feel like I was watching the first movie, but just a little bit. It changed a little bit. It wasn't exactly the same, but it also wasn't just like they didn't give any thought or effort into it.
Yeah, right. That's true. The backgrounds, like all the scenes that were made, again, they were like physical props. And this is actually interesting because it's so hard to build something in real life that has this kind of perspective. As Rachel said, it's made her feel like she is a small child. And I think this is the goal. And so if you pay attention on this kind of art they're using for afterlife world, they're using Tim Burton referencing a lot to German expressionism, which is also looking very similar. It's broken perspective, it's very bright colors, but they looking like dark at the same time, a lot of contrast. It's everything like make you feel weird, like exactly like you a kid and you're trying to understand this world, but it's just too complicated. You just have no idea what's going on, which is amazing. And I really appreciate how much offer artists put on those props. It's incredible job. I don't know, like, how did they plan it? It's crazy,
Yeah.
absolutely mind blowing.
There's parts of the movie that looked like Beetlejuice, and then there's other parts that look like a teen drama on the CW. And
Yes.
I kind of love the mix of it, where it was
Yeah.
like it just felt like two different feelings, and of course with me, I'm a huge fan of Danny Elfman, so anything that Danny
Yes.
Elfman does, I'm there for it. Like, so him
Yeah.
coming back and doing the score, I loved it.
Yeah. And it was exciting because the music came on, the initial theme, or the Beetlejuice theme was there, and then they kind of integrated it into the newer soundtrack. And I remember going, I wonder if it's the same composer. And literally 2 seconds later, it was like Danny Elfman. I'm like, all right, cool. That answers my question. But yeah, Danny Elfman, he's done so many iconic, especially with the Beetlejuice theme itself. It's so iconic that if they had hired somebody else, I don't think we would have felt the same vibe that we got from the first one. A little bit of quirkiness, but a little bit of spookiness thrown in there, and the music really helped with that.
Okay, let's do our final wrap up here. So what is everyone's thoughts? So everyone give me a 10 out of 10 rating, and we're going to average it out and we'll give our Cosplay Alliance rating. So let's start with Allison.
I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10. Okay, how about Ali?
I would give it an 8 out of 10.
8 or 8?
8, yes, 8, sorry.
8. Okay, Elizabeth.
It's too hard to rate it. I would probably give it a solid 8.
Okay, Rachel.
I'm going to sound really harsh. I'm going to give it like a 7. I loved it, but there were too many missed opportunities for me.
Okay, Sheba.
I'd probably go with about an 8 as well.
8. I'm going to be, it's same as Rachel. I love it. There's so much I really enjoyed, but again, like pacing and that kind of stuff, 7.5. Put it there. So quickly on the math. Oh, hold on. Yeah, here, let's slow down the podcast by watching me try to count. And
It's actually a lot of missing opportunities, I feel like.
So that means we give it a Cosplay Alliance 7.85 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's a decent score.
Decent.
Now, I know we said before about the possibility of a Beetlejuice, but just a quick round here. What would you like to see from the future of this netherworld? What are you dying to see from it?
Oh, can I start? But I'm gonna steal your idea, Rachel, because actually you are so right about the characters that we see in the under. Oh my God, help me with my English. I'm so sorry. After Dime World, there is so many interesting characters that just would be. I just wonder what happened. I just wonder how did they appear in this world and why they look like that. You kind of can assume by the look, but I want more details. Maybe there's something funny. I feel like that would be really interesting, like TV show about this world in general. Maybe you can add something to it, Rachel, as it was like your idea.
Well, my idea was just bouncing off of your idea of having a TV show instead of a third movie in the first place, whether that's like a Goosebumps style, contained stories, a walkthrough of the Handbook of the Dead, or even as we've been talking, I've been visualizing this like Saturday Night Live, SNL, late night talk show style kind of vibe of a TV show where you've got Beetlejuice and Lydia, because she had her talk show, almost like late night talk showing with all of the different people of the dead of the land of the no longer living.
That's actually would be hilarious. Yeah, if it's like a talk
It's so
show,
funny.
that would be so funny.
Yeah. It would be fantastic to kind of also maybe even doing like interviews with some of the different characters, like how did you die? What happened? What's your story? And then we could flash back to what their stories are like. That would be fun. I would like to see, I forgot to mention, I really like the Soul Train, and I would really like more of that. I don't know in what capacity, I just want more, because the music for the Soul Train was fantastic, and every time it came up, I was really excited. So I'd like to see more of whatever's going on in the Soul Train. Where does it go? Do they make stops along the way? Are they dancing the entire time? I'd like to know a little bit more about that. So they could do like a little travel section, like a news thing where they're like, hey, let's go to this section and interview people. And they could do a lot. And I think a TV show would definitely be a lot more interesting, because they could do a lot of different episodes and kind of do whatever they wanted to instead of having a straight story.
Speaking about Soul Train, Chris makes the comment, couldn't make it today. What do you think about the dance scene, especially since Burton really never uses actors of color and chose to use them that way?
Yeah. I mean, again, I really liked the Soul Train part, but that's because the music was great. But he's right, though. There was no other main actors of color within the movie. So it kind of, it could feel a little bit performative as well, just having them in there. But I like the music so much that I was like, it didn't even occur to me, because I was like, oh, music, yeah.
I laughed when they said Soul Train, and then
I know
a literal Soul Train showed up.
Yeah,
and, like I was,
and like I said, yeah,
the music. I just started thinking if Don Cornelius was still alive.
Right. I literally just started bopping, and then when I saw it second time, I bopped again. I wasn't like, oh my god, this part. I was waiting for the Soul Train part, and then just was having my own little dance thing in my chair.
For this scene, that's a very weird parallel, but that I'm gonna draw up. Have you guys watched The Umbrella Academy?
Which one?
The Umbrella Academy.
Oh yeah.
It's because like, I don't know if this is like a older thing, but like I saw parallels between the train from Umbrella Academy
right.
in a different life going, and they actually explored where that train goes, and I was thinking this was kind of similar, and I was hoping we'd see where it goes as well. So that was something that popped the moment I saw the Soul Train, because I just finished Umbrella Academy recently, so it was along these lines. For me, when it comes to the question itself, I don't know if I want to see more of Beetlejuice. I know, scandalous, I know, but I don't know what more are they gonna do with him. I want to see more of the universe, but not him.
Yes, that's a good.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind him just popping in once in a while, being like, hello, here I'm there. And I'd like more of, the shrunken headed people. Can we do a TV show of them?
The yes.
Yeah, I'd like them. I know, spoiler, Bob is not, no longer with us.
No.
He was the greatest. I know he was the greatest. But we do have other ones. And maybe, we could see their lives. So, yeah.
The Office style comedy show, but with all
right? With
Beetlejuice's employees.
And they have like little love lives and everything. That'd be so cute. Oh,
solving all these problems on the phone.
Right? Just their own Jim and Pam, like.
Now I get the beginning of The Office playing in my head, but style.
With all of the other characters, like from Bob to everyone else, and yeah, it would be really cute. I'd watch it, even if it's just short clips, like 5-10 minute videos. I'd watch that.
Yeah, like how Disney sometimes gives us like the Mater shorts from Cars or something like that. Give us little bite-sized shorts to nom on every once in a while.
Exactly. I'd appreciate that.
I don't know if you guys have been following this campaign, but Warner Brothers, like when we went to the premiere, they gave us the hashtag Shriekers Can Tour. And it's a reference to their campaign, which was basically they made the Shriekers Tour Canada. So they were in Niagara Falls. Yes, They were at Niagara Falls. They were at the airport. They were in hotels. If you guys have been to Little Canada, that's
Yeah.
they made a small size of them and put them inside one of the buildings, watching one of the Cineplex buildings with popcorns in their hand and stuff. It was just such a cool campaign. It's so creative. They were just literally everywhere in Canada, and there's videos of them just like going down the stairs, going up the stairs. Just and you can't love them.
Next group cosplay, we all dress up as shrinkers. Just putting it out there. If anybody wants to,
I'm ready.
Just
I'm in.
Kanye suit outfits so that our heads look small.
Look really small. Yeah.
Face paint. And
Yeah, exactly.
Really nice style.
My bun can totally look like that. So I'm already. If anybody wants to join, just hit us up later. We'll start this.
All right. Well, we are getting close to the hour, so it's time to wrap up here. Am I safe to assume that everyone is going to say, go see this movie?
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
100%.
If you're not watching it in theater, I would say maybe speedrun the first part of it. But the last part is the best. I know it's kind of like it's part of the show, but it's just so slow. I can't stand it. The second time I'm gonna watch it, I'm gonna just skip it. I'm gonna go right to the most interesting part.
Now, is everyone going to be? Here's a question: streaming, catch it in theater one more time, or even buy the physical media, whether it's 4K, Blu-ray, or DVD?
I watched it twice.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
I watched it twice, so now I'm just gonna wait for it to come out on streaming, and then I'll watch it whenever it's on streaming sites.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some friends who haven't seen it to watch it in theaters because it's spooky season and we've got a spooky movie, and that's just fun. And then it's gonna go on the streaming Halloween rotation moving forward.
How about you, Elizabeth? Oh, or no, Elizabeth, did you say that's streaming or?
I would watch it with friends second time. I think it's gonna be more fun for the first part.
How about you, Allison?
I mean, go and see it however you can see it, really. But I'm same. I'm gonna put on my spooky loop and let it rip.
How about you, Allie?
I'm the kind of person who can't watch something more than once. I would freaking die. This is recent development where I started watching things, but I need a buffer. Regardless how much I love it, I would need a buffer. But
if there's no movie you would watch second time?
I can't. It drives me crazy. I feel guilty because I'm like, there's so much to watch that I need to watch. And I'm like, I'm rewatching WandaVision right now. I'm trying to finish it before Agatha starts in a few days, and there's even that still feels a bit like, I'm watching this again, but I'm just like brushing up on everything so I can enjoy the thing fully. And that's recently I started being able to do this, but before that, watching something twice used to be a massive no-no for me.
I started WandaVision today, and I finished it today.
I watched it. My fiance hadn't seen it, so I rewatched it with him. But I tend to do the thing where I'm like, I have so many things to watch, and I'm like, but I don't want to use my brain today, so I'm going to watch an old movie that I've seen like 100 times, and I will just rewatch it.
When I do that, I either watch The Simpsons or Family Guy because there's too many episodes, and I'm still catching up. And it's really, I need to be brain dead.
Yeah.
Right now, my comfort watch is 2.5 Men.
Mm.
Right now, because I haven't watched it actually, so I've been doing that.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up at that. So again, thank you to Warner Brothers Canada for inviting us all out a couple weeks ago to see Beetlejuice, and definitely go catch it any way you can, preferably in theater. We'll always watch it on the biggest screen you possibly can because it was cool in IMAX. Actually, just another quick thing. Next week, we'll be mastering the art of parenting and costuming. So make sure you tune in on our new night. We're now Monday nights here on YouTube. And tune in next week. And as far as everyone on the panel, thank you for joining us tonight on the Cosplay Alliance podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Catch you
Yeah.
soon.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having us.
Bye.
Great job, everybody.
If you're watching this episode on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out other episodes of the Cosplay Alliance podcast. The Cosplay Alliance podcast is also available in audio format on all major podcast